But obviously today, the topic is about diversity, is about empowerment, female. So I think, going along, all jokes aside, right? I think let's talk about female empowerment first. Tell us about One Championship in terms of the gender equality. You were talking about the percentage of female kind of
Yeah,
executives and even female fighter within the
yeah,
organizations. Tell us about it.
yeah. So, One Championship, for those that are not that familiar, is the world's largest martial arts organization. We have about 60 live events across the world annually, and these events are broadcast in about 190 countries. Um, Apart from mixed martial arts, MMA, we also have fights in a variety of martial arts, including Muay Thai, kickboxing, and submission grappling, which involves specific local forms like jiu-jitsu and wrestling. Um, so look, in terms of I think it's important to set the context, right? Of all the big global sports leagues, we're the only ones from Asia, and we are the only ones that were born in the last, call it 15 years. So we're the youngest. So I'd like to think actually that because we're born into this new age, a lot of things that we do, a lot of how we think about promoting the sport is relatively 21st century, if you will. And one of those things is diversity. And a big part of diversity at One Championship is gender diversity. But actually, I think there is a bit of a misconception around females and combat sport. If you think about the Olympics, taekwondo, karate, judo, many females, very well-known females, participate in those sports. Even if you look at the big commercial, combat sport promotions, ourselves and the UFC, these are the two biggest in the world. Many of our franchise fighters are female. The UFC for the longest time had Ronda Rousey, flying their flag, and Ronda Rousey, Misha Tate, right, who actually was an executive at One, for some years before she went back and resumed fighting at the UFC. So combat sport actually has had very high participation of females and has had many females being the faces, right, of their respective promotions. Now, in the case of One Championship, it's not just one or two faces. We have multiple faces that basically fly the flag for us who are female. Angela Lee, homegrown talent Angela Lee, very well known, one of our biggest faces in Asia. We have Stamp Fairtex, who is a Muay Thai fighter. She is one of our most followed athletes in the US now. You even have people like Alicia Rodriguez, who is Brazilian, who is our current atomweight Muay Thai world champion. All of these athletes are either current or former world champions. So many of our franchise fighters are actually female. And it's not because, and yes, look, I think we deliberately do want to make sure that females have an equal opportunity and equal platform to represent the organization. But to be honest, a lot of why we build a lot of these fighters is because they're simply popular, both with males and females. So it's not only just pushing for diversity, it's also good business, right? And good sort of product market fit.
Absolutely. I mean, it's very interesting because, as Sean mentioned, there's no way that I'm an MMA fighter, but personally, I practice boxing and just pick up jiu-jitsu recently
Yeah.
as well. 1 month white belt with no stripes, so I'm really, really fresh. And just personally, I feel like because this is a different sport than tennis, let's say, right? It's individual sports. All the ladies are super fit. This is something that we get punched in the face as a woman, right? We get choked as well by another woman, sometimes men, when we're rolling with another person. So but the thing is, what drives me is, right, obviously I'm not an athlete, but the psychology behind it is one for the physical strength. The other one is particularly around Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I feel like there is a discipline to it. There is this kind of you want to be proud of yourself doing something that's highly complicated, right? Because it's a highly strategic kind of sports. When I put on the gi, I feel like I have a mission to achieve, right? So do you feel like what are the other motivations that drives female fighters within One Championship? Yeah.
Yeah. To be honest, I think the motivations are the same. The mission of the company is not to stage, the biggest, baddest fights, right? The mission of the company actually is to unleash real-life superheroes who ignite the world with hope, strength, dreams, and inspiration. We want to basically find heroes, local heroes from all over the world, put them on the global stage through our platform, through our 190 country broadcasts, and allow them to fly, the flag for their countries. And what motivates female fighters is actually very much the same thing as what motivates our male fighters. And actually, if you look at a lot of the events, the big events that we've had in our history, almost all of our big milestone events were headlined by female fights. You look at our 100th event, 1 Century, that was in Tokyo in 2019. That was headlined by Xiong Jingnan and Angela Lee, right? Xiong Jingnan of China, Angela of Singapore in the US. If you look at our 10-year anniversary event, this was, I think, in actually 2 years ago. It was also headlined by a female fight. In fact, in 2021, we were the first MMA promotion or martial arts promotion to have an all-female card. So the entire 10 fights in that particular event were all female. And coming up, this at the end of this month, we're having another repeat of that, where the top 4 fights are all female. So when you ask about what motivates, females, our female fighters, actually, once again, it's an equal platform for them to show their stuff, represent their countries, and fight for the belt. It's exactly the same as what motivates the male fighters.
Right. I think that's very important because as females, we always are intimidated by combat sports such as this. A lot of the female would actually choose, I guess, maybe tennis and golf, right, to start with. But I think just on a physical level, just on a fitness level, in the gyms, right, it evolved. I actually see a lot of females taking Muay Thai, taking Jiu-Jitsu. More than ever. The girls, the size are half of my size, literally. They're more fierce than me.
Well, you talked about jiu-jitsu. Brazilian jiu-jitsu, some people call it human chess. It's a very intellectual sport. And I think it's a well-known fact that, especially at a young age, females mature quicker than males. So actually, females may have an edge, right? And what is really a very brainy sport. No, but you're right. Look, I think martial arts today has a very high degree of participation. You walk around any city in the world, okay? Singapore, New York, where I was at last week, Doha, where I'm going in 2 weeks from now, you will see a martial arts school. You will see martial arts gyms. It doesn't matter if you're East, West, Asia, Africa, Europe, etc. And in these gyms, I think you will see an equal proportion of male and females kicking a pad or punching a punching bag, right? So I think that definitely helps the sport. Once again, I don't see there being a huge difference between female and male participation in the sport. And in fact, if anything, you're right. I do actually probably see more females, at these gyms. Yeah.
Absolutely. Just going back to superheroes, right? So I recently just saw a quote from Chaudhary. He says his mission is to unleash real-life superheroes who ignite the world with hope, strength, dreams, inspirations. Just looking at, I guess, the fighters, the coaches within one championship, everybody has a story. Everybody had to overcome some of the toughest moments in their lives, right? And I mean, Chaudhary himself, right? He's gone through so much, right? Raised, I guess, not raised by the single mother, but his situation with the mother and things like that. So you would just say it's in the DNA with one championship?
No, you're right. It's very much in our DNA. I mean, look, the company was founded in 2011 in Singapore, Southeast Asia, right? We grew up largely around emerging markets. A lot of our initial fighters were from emerging markets. And the reality is many of them come from backgrounds of poverty, struggle. Some of them, lost their siblings to sickness, when they were young because their family could not afford basic medicine. So many of them have had to struggle to get to where they are and overcome many personal obstacles. This is a huge part of our DNA. So quite apart from, so when I say unleashing, real-life superheroes, that's not a trivial statement, because to find these people, to be able to bring them up, from where they came, and to give them a platform to have a real professional career, that is something very, very meaningful. I talked about Stamp Fairtex. So Stamp Fairtex is one of our big, faces today. She was our former atomweight Muay Thai and kickboxing world champion. She will be fighting, actually, end of the month in Singapore. Go!
it's changing the landscape of MMA because it is literally larger than the UFC
We
worldwide.
actually discovered her on one of these LSP's local league talent shows.
Because the numbers are so
We discovered
huge,
her,
the way that One Championship has grown is a case study for us that we spread all over the world.
We are thrilled to partner with the world's largest martial arts organization. That is One Championship.
One is already the largest martial arts organization.
This thing is the buffet of MMA. For you guys, the fight fans, take what you want. Anything that you can do under one roof is going to be done. Pick and choose, and you're going to enjoy it.
If you've never seen one before, what's your problem?
Yeah, what's your
Right?
problem? Get with it.
Shaq doesn't even want to have a discussion. He says you're the GOAT.
It's a big storytelling. And we have this mantra called values, heroes, and stories. In the end, what makes this brand, what makes this business scalable? It is the values, right? The martial arts values, integrity, humility, honor, respect, courage, discipline. It's not the blood, it's not the confrontation, it's these values. That's what martial arts is. This has been around Asia for like 3,000-4,000 years, right? And then you obviously have the heroes that embody those values, like Stamp, like Angela, like Alicia. And you tell their stories. And with these three things, if you look at our content, a lot of it revolves around these three things. You saw the video just now of Angela, and Stamp Fairtex hugging, after their fight. That was a fight that Angela won. The humility, the integrity, the respect they have for each other, right, is something that I think many people can identify with.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because actually 1 month ago was the first time that I went to a One Championships game in the new Lumpini Stadium in Bangkok. And not only because my appreciation for mixed martial arts, I actually have a friend, this trainer, he's actually a Muay Thai trainer in the gym in Shanghai, but his brother, they're French Moroccan. His brother is actually one fighter, and their family story is basically they have a family kind of gym in France. They're only taking in the juveniles, like the juvies, and train them, put them in the gym, and train them, using their force in the right ways, and training them to be fighters. So it's really inspirational. I saw a photo being taken between my friend's brother Ilya and Mikey
Musumeci, yeah, that's right. Yeah. He's another big face, yeah.
Yeah, Mikey himself, right? It's a true inspiration. And he's so young and so well spoken, and he's actually autistic, is he? Or no? I'm not sure, but I think he's going through a lot. And recently, I saw a Instagram shorts about him. He's basically saying how do you achieve success. You don't have to be a corporate executive. You don't have to be a big shot lawyer. Through sports, through hard training, you can actually be put on a world stage, just like One Championship, right? And his mission is really to train hard and inspire everybody on a daily basis. Yeah.
No, you're exactly right. I think, inspiring others, values, training hard, overcoming obstacles, that is everything about, One Championship. It's everything about our story, right? Like me with the first, Asian sports league to really make it on the world stage. Asia has many sports leagues. I'm actually a fan of quite a few of them. The CBA, Chinese Basketball Association, right? The J League in Japan, Japanese. I mean, I watch those leagues, and they're great leagues. They make money, but they are only going to be a Chinese and a Japanese league respectively, right? They haven't been able to become a real global league. But when you think of One Championship, right? I mean, it took a long time to get here. Well, relatively long, but today we are kind of representing Asia, on the world stage.
Right.
Yeah. And like I said, you talked about, diversity. We've talked a lot about our athletes, but when you think about our workforce, our leadership, it's very diverse as well. 50%, of the company are female, of our employees are female. 50% of the leadership team is also female. Females occupy very key positions in the company. Our CFO is female. Our president of China is female. Our head of strategy is female. Our head of analytics and insights is female. I mean, SVP and above, very, very diverse, very equal.
Wow, where do I put my resume?
You can give it to me right now.
It's the announcer position. Just kidding.
I know it sounds contrived because I keep saying it, but it's true. Like if you look at everything, right, even the fan base is 30 to 40% female,
right,
based on surveys. So this is really a sport, for everyone. And run by a very diverse group of individuals.
I think it's very interesting also in terms of diversity, right? that was my first experience
Yeah.
1 month ago. But the nationalities of the fighters are so vast, right? And if you're looking at this, everybody, I was just so surprised. Some of the fighters are from the countries I probably never heard of even, but they're some of the strongest, resilient people that I've ever seen. Right, so I think it's just globalizations, and also I feel like as Asians that representing an organization like you mentioned, I guess with the UFC sometimes there are some sort of a toxicity within this. Fighters, bickering with each other with all the ego being shown. I think maybe that's not the best case study for everyone. Whereas in Asia, like you mentioned, martial arts, right? There's gracefulness to it. And you just came back from New York and Qatar, and was that your mission, trying to, get one championship on a global level and elevate, where it is right now?
Well, One Today is truly a global property. You talk about America. We had our first on-ground event in Denver in May. But even prior to Denver, we already had a broadcast on Amazon.
We are thrilled to
Also
partner with
screened,
the world's
big
largest
leagues
martial
like
arts
NFL,
organization.
like
That
WNBA.
is one
In fact, I think
championship.
they're the
One is
first
already the largest martial arts organization.
This thing is the buffet of MMA. For you guys, the fight fans, take what you want. Anything that you can do under one roof is going to be done. Pick and choose, and you're going to enjoy it.
If you've never seen one before, what's your problem?
Yeah, what's your
Right?
problem? Get with it.
Shaq doesn't even want to have a discussion. He says you're the GOAT.
Right, I was and we are going to start bringing events to Doha, to Qatar. The Qataris are actually one of our best fans. And we signed an MOU about 2 months ago, and we start bringing out live events at Qatar. But even ahead of that, we've already signed a broadcast deal for the MENA region, the Middle East, so I think the fact that we are scaling so much in so many countries just speaks to it speaks to the quality of the product, but really the good product market fit. I think we got lucky. Martial arts is something that has been exported around the world, right? Its origins are in Asia, right? Every single Asian country has martial arts, but it has been exported around the world. Like I said, you can find martial arts anywhere you go. So we're kind of lucky, right, in that respect. If you think about a sport like, say, cricket, okay, cricket's very popular in India and parts of, the British Commonwealth, but it's not something that has mass appeal. American football, very popular in the US. I like watching the NFL, but it's generally not something that people outside the US are big fans of. So I think we got pretty lucky with the sport as well. Martial arts travels well. It's easy to understand. There's no complicated rules. When you look at two people going at it, you kind of know what's going on, right? and I think, last of all, it is very gender equal. There isn't a women's NFL, right? And the WNBA, by the way, I'm a big WNBA fan as well, but they're a recent phenomenon. Whereas fight sports has had female participation for a very long time. And I think for us, we're very proud to be, at the forefront of that in terms of representation.
That's awesome. And like you mentioned that you're going around to different regions to kind of promote one championship. Do you feel like they recognize us as a global kind of IP or an Asian IP? Or would you specifically, channel the message that we're Asian, right? We're trying to make Asian proud. We're trying to make the world proud as well. Yeah.
That's a very good question. And obviously, look, this is the topic of the panel is diversity, right? So obviously, I think Asian representation is definitely something that I think is on our minds when we go around the world, but I don't think it is necessarily representation in the tribal sense. If you look at our fighters, they're not all Asian. In fact, it's international. If you look at the NBA today, I mean, look, we just had the FIBA World Cup, right? The last panel, the US didn't even medal, right? The basketball and the NBA, which is the world's top basketball league, is an international league today. The UFC, to some extent, is an international league as well. They have fighters from all. So we are actually an international league that happens to be based in Asia. Now, obviously, for natural reasons, the first couple of years of our life, from 2011 say to 2015, a lot of our fighters were more Asian. But over time, we have built the roster, and today, I would say us in the UFC have the best and most international rosters in the world. So when you talk about representing Asia, yes, but it's not necessarily in the ethnic tribal sense. It's, hey, we are a league. Asia is also capable, right, in the 21st century of producing a league, a promotion of global relevance. And you see that in the numbers, right? If you look at digital views, okay, digital video views across YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all the top global digital platforms, we rank number 2 after the NBA. Wow. Okay? If you look at cumulative TV reach, we're actually number 4 or 5. And the rest of the leagues there are Western leagues, either American or European, right? So I think for me, it is something that's it's a big source of pride, to be able to create an constructed Asian-based sports IP that has global relevance and global fandom, and it's still growing, up and to the right. Yeah.
I mean, I think definitely, I'm sure as you go around, you definitely channel some of the philosophy from the Asian perspective, right? Something that the Western sort of philosophy or ideology might differ or similar to it, right? So I think in terms of the brand positioning for one championship for UFC, I'm sure when people talk about one, they have this nice aura about. I'm not just saying Asian, but with the Asian, philosophy being calm and gracefulness and being not over aggressive, but not overly aggressive. I'm not saying that we're passive aggressive, but we're just not very
If you look at traditional sort of
It's changing the landscape of MMA because it is literally larger than the UFC worldwide.
And what they do. Big thoughts on that.
because the numbers are so huge. The way that one championship has grown is a case study for us that we spread all over the world.
We are thrilled to partner with the world's largest martial arts organization that is One Championship.
One is already the largest martial arts organization.
This thing is the buffet of MMA. For you guys, the fight fans, take what you want. Anything that you could do under one roof is going to be done. Pick and choose, and you're going to enjoy it.
If you've never seen one before, what's your problem?
Yeah, what's your
Right?
problem? Get with it.
Shaq doesn't even want to have a discussion. He says you're the GOAT.
Right, even India, that in pop culture is traditionally not associated with martial arts, has wrestling. And wrestling is very popular, especially in the North. So you have all of these cultures. We all did martial arts. So I didn't become a good. I'm sure many of you did it, if not a friend or relative that did martial arts. Our parents did not send us to martial arts schools to become bullies, right? They sent us to these schools to learn values, right? To learn honor, to learn discipline, right? And of course, self-defense, right? So I think that is kind of our ethos. It is about the values and it's about inspiring people everywhere around the world, right, through these values.
I love it. I think it's definitely very interesting. We just have a couple minutes left, but tell us more about the upcoming One Fight Night 14. What can we expect with with all the female headliners and the in stadium experience? Because the one that I went to last month was in the new Lumpini Stadium in Bangkok, but this is happening in Singapore, right?
Yeah. No, so Singapore is a home turf for us. It's always special when we do an event at the Singapore Indoor Stadium. You and I were talking a bit about the sort of in-stadium experience. Our in-stadium experience is really, really special. We have a big sort of LED wall. I mean, you saw some of it, on the video. Big LED wall, pyrotechnics, music, walkout. We even control the temperature in the stadium, so it feels like a club.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We're very, very particular about the in-stadium experience.
What about the wristband?
Yeah. So everyone gets a wristband, and the wristband actually changes color together with the flow of the fights and the music.
That did not happen. I did not know that. Wow, I'm coming.
Yeah.
Tell us more about it.
No, but I think to your point, right? The fight September 30th in Singapore, which is September 29th evening in the U.S. The top 4 fights are all female fights. It's actually headlined by Thailand versus Korea. Stan Fairtex versus Ham Seo-hee. They're fighting for the interim atomweight MMA championship belt that has been currently vacated, not vacated, currently on hold because Angela Lee is on a hiatus currently. Yeah, Angela Lee actually, and I'm sure some of you here know who she is. She's also going to make a special appearance. She unfortunately lost her sister earlier this year. Her sister died, Victoria Lee. Victoria was also one of our fighters. So Angela's going to come out and make a statement about that and say a bit more about her future at One.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a very, very significant event.
I think it's not only, at the end of the day, it's not only a sporting event, but it's also a big has a big entertainment kind of, and not only entertainment, but, storytelling goes along to what you said, right? Things that people getting quite personal with their lives, but I think they're trying to use their personal story to inspire whoever is out there, right? I think that's the beauty of One Championship. And, we still have some time. Well, I think, do you have any advices for young athletes, women, men, young, old, who wants to, train with mixed martial arts? Yeah.
I think martial arts is just it's a great thing to learn. I think first and foremost, it's always good, I think, to learn some self-defense. Many people that I know make sure their kids have some martial arts training, in particular their daughters. Okay, so I think that's something that I do for my daughter as well.
What does she do?
She does taekwondo.
Oh, okay, interesting. That's very cute, actually.
Yeah,
I've seen a
yeah.
cute kid video doing
Yeah,
taekwondo, cutest
yeah.
thing in the world.
Yeah, so that's one thing I'd say. I think the second thing is, look, I think like any sport, right? Becoming a professional athlete, a lot of us see the glory moments, right? When they win, when they dunk a basketball, when they execute a flying kick, all the big, but what you don't see is the blood, sweat, and tears, right? That you have to put in for years and years and years. So I think whether or not you're intending to be a professional athlete, I think just appreciate, what professional athletes go through. It's hours and hours, days and days of training for that one moment, of glory in the ring.
Wow, thank you so much, and we're on time. Everybody, thanks to Hua Fung Teh from One Championship.